You think hiring a senior developer for $120,000 a year is expensive? You have no idea what you're actually going to pay. Today, we're doing a complete breakdown of the true cost of in-house hiring. We're going to walk through recruiting fees, hidden costs that nobody talks about, the turnover cycle that never seems to end, and most importantly, what this is actually costing you in lost time and missed opportunities. The numbers we're going to cover today are going to hurt, but you need to hear them because most founders are making decisions based on completely incomplete information. I'm your host, and joining me is our hiring economics expert who's spent years analyzing what companies actually pay when they build teams in-house. He's seen these numbers firsthand across hundreds of companies, and trust me, what he's about to share is going to change how you think about building your team. This is going to be eye-opening. Stay with us.
Thanks for having me. Here's what I tell every founder who asks about hiring costs. That salary number you have in your head, that's just the starting line. In fact, it's only about 60 to 70% of what you'll actually pay when everything is said and done. The rest comes in all these hidden places that nobody talks about until you're already committed and the money is already going out the door. I'm talking about recruiting fees, benefits, taxes, equipment, overhead, the time cost of hiring itself, which most founders never calculate. It all adds up incredibly fast. And the crazy part is most founders don't calculate any of this before they post that job. They see a $120,000 salary, they budget maybe $130,000, thinking they're being conservative, and then 6 months later they're wondering where all their money went and why their runway is disappearing so much faster than they projected. This is one of those hidden killers of startups that nobody really talks about openly.
So let's start at the very beginning and walk through this step by step. I post a job for a senior developer at $120,000 salary. That's my budget, right? That's what I'm planning to spend annually for this role. I've done my financial projections. I've looked at what the market pays. I feel good about this number. Am I wrong?
You're not just wrong, you're dangerously wrong. That $120,000, that's just the base salary. First, you've got to actually find someone. Recruiting fees alone are typically 20 to 25% of the first year's salary, which means you're paying $25,000 to $30,000 just to source and screen candidates. And that's if you use a quality recruiter. If you go with a retained search firm for senior roles, you could be looking at $40,000 to $56,000 just in recruiting fees. But here's what most founders don't consider. If you try to do it yourself to save that money, you're now spending 3 to 6 months of your own time posting jobs, reviewing hundreds of resumes, conducting countless phone screens, scheduling interviews, negotiating offers. And as a founder, your time is worth a lot more than a $30,000 recruiting fee. Every hour you spend recruiting is an hour you're not building your product, talking to customers, or raising money. So before you've even hired someone, you're out $25,000 to $56,000 in fees or 3 to 6 months of your most valuable resource, your time.
So before they even start their first day, I'm out potentially $50,000 in recruiting fees, plus 3 to 6 months of my time spent on hiring instead of building. That's painful, but okay, let's say I accept that. I pay the fees, I put in the time, I've got my developer hired. Now I'm paying $120,000 a year in salary. Correct? We're done with hidden costs now, right?
We're just getting started, and this is where most founders get really surprised. Now come the hidden costs that nobody mentions during the hiring process. Health insurance, dental, vision, life insurance, payroll taxes, Social Security, Medicare, unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, retirement matching if you offer a 401k. Disability insurance in some states, all of this adds another 25 to 35% on top of that base salary. So that $120,000 developer, you're actually writing checks for $150,000 to $162,000 in cash compensation alone. That's before they've written a single line of code that adds value to your business. And these aren't optional costs. You can't skip payroll taxes or workers' comp. This is the legally required cost of employing someone in addition to their salary. Yet somehow, most founders never include this in their hiring calculations.
Wait, So I'm at $162,000 in actual compensation costs, and I haven't even bought them a laptop yet. I haven't set up their workspace. I haven't given them any tools to actually do their job. All of that costs money too, doesn't it?
Exactly. And these costs add up faster than most people expect. You're looking at a $2,000 to $3,000 MacBook Pro for a serious developer. They'll want at least 2 high-quality monitors. That's another $600 to $1,000 for decent displays. A good standing desk or quality traditional desk, an ergonomic chair because they're going to be sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day, that's another $1,000 to $1,500 minimum. Keyboard, mouse, headset for calls, maybe a webcam. You're easily at $5,000 just for the initial hardware setup. But that's not even the recurring costs. You've got software licenses, IDE subscriptions, design tools like Figma or Adobe products, project management software like Jira or Linear, communication platforms like Slack or Microsoft Teams, developer tools, GitHub Copilot or similar AI assistants. That's hundreds of dollars per month in recurring subscription costs. Then there's cloud infrastructure for development and testing environments, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. All of this adds up incredibly fast depending on what you're building.
Okay, so $5,000 in hardware setup, but that's a one-time cost, right? I buy the equipment once and we're done. That feels manageable.
The hardware is one time, but everything else keeps coming. Cloud infrastructure for development and testing environments, that's $3,000 to $5,000 per year minimum, and it scales up as your application grows. AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, none of this is cheap, especially if you need multiple environments for development, staging, and testing. But here's the cost many founders completely forget until they're already committed: the physical space. If you're renting office space, you need to factor in the cost per square foot for each employee. A desk, a chair, some meeting room allocation, common space like kitchen and bathroom areas, utilities, insurance on the space. You're easily at another $5,000 to $10,000 per year in overhead just for the physical space they occupy. And this is assuming you already have office space. If you're getting office space specifically to hire in-house instead of being remote first, now you're looking at leases, furniture for the entire office, build-out costs, security, insurance, utilities, internet. It becomes an enormous fixed cost that you're now locked into, regardless of how your business is performing.
This is getting depressing fast. So let me just ask directly, what's the actual total annual cost for my $120,000 developer when we account for all of this? Give me the real number.
All in, you're looking at $175,000 to $190,000 per year for that $120,000 developer, and that's your baseline cost assuming everything goes smoothly. No bonuses, no raises, no equity grants, no unexpected costs. That's just what it costs to have someone show up and do their job. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night when I talk to founders. We haven't even accounted for the most expensive cost of all, which is the time cost. How long did it take you to hire this person? How long before they're actually productive and shipping code that matters? What's the opportunity cost of all that time spent hiring and onboarding instead of building your product and talking to customers? Most founders never calculate this, but it's often the most expensive part of the entire equation.
Okay, but here's what I really want to understand. Even at $190,000 per year, if I'm getting great work that helps me build my business and grow revenue, maybe it's worth it. So when do I actually start getting value from this person? When does the ROI kick in?
This is where it gets really painful, so bear with me. Walk through the timeline with me. You decide you need to hire someone. You post the job. If you're lucky and the market is good, it takes 3 to 6 months to find and hire someone. Many startups take even longer. Let's assume you're fortunate, and it only takes 3 months. They start their first day. Now what? They need to learn your systems. They need to understand your code base, which probably has some technical debt and no documentation, because that's how startups work. They need to learn your product, your customers, your business model, your processes, your tools. That's another 2 to 3 months before they're truly productive and shipping meaningful work. So from the day you decide to hire, you're looking at 5 to 9 months before you're getting real value from this person. During that entire time, you're paying their salary, you're paying all those costs we talked about, but you're getting zero additional product development.
5 to 9 months, during which time my competitors are shipping features, winning customers, and capturing market share. And I'm, what? Reviewing resumes and teaching someone my code base?
Exactly. And this opportunity cost is massive and permanent. You're not getting that time back. While you were posting jobs and reviewing resumes and conducting interviews, your competitors were building features. While you were onboarding and training and answering questions and reviewing code that wasn't quite there yet, your competitors were shipping those features and winning customers. And here's what really hurts. All that time you spent hiring and onboarding, you were paying for it the entire time. 3 months of recruiting fees or 3 months of your own time. 3 months of salary while they're learning and not yet productive. You're 6 months into this process, and your product hasn't improved one bit. Your competitors shipped 6 months of features while you were stuck in hiring mode. Those features they shipped, they're permanent competitive advantages. You can't get that time back. You can't undo the market share you lost. This is the hidden cost that kills startups. Not just the money you spend, but the progress you don't make.
But okay, once they're through onboarding and they're productive, I'm good, right? I've got my developer, they're cranking out code, we're finally making progress.
For about 18 months if you're lucky. That's the average tenure for developers in startups and tech companies. Sometimes it's longer at big tech companies like Google or Meta, where people stay for 5 years. But for startups, 18 months is pretty standard. And here's what happens after 18 months on average. They quit. They get a better offer from a bigger company with better benefits and more stability. They burn out from startup pace. They want to try something new or start their own company. They get recruited away. Life happens. They move cities. They have family situations. They want different things. And when they leave, you're back to square one. All that knowledge of your code base, gone. All that context about your product and customers, gone. All that investment you made in getting them productive, gone. You're starting over from zero.
They just quit. And then what happens to me as the founder?
The cycle starts over. And this is what drives founders crazy. Another recruiting fee. Another 3 to 6 month search while you're understaffed. Another onboarding period where you're training instead of building. Another ramp up where they're not yet productive. More delays, more opportunity cost, more money out the door. So let's do the math on your 18-month productive window. You spent 3 months hiring them, 3 months getting them productive, that's 6 months. They stayed for 18 months total, so you got 12 months of actual productivity. During those 12 months, you were paying $190,000 annually in real costs. So for this one developer over their entire tenure, you've spent approximately $250,000, probably more when you factor in all the recruiting and ramp-up time. And now they're gone, and you're starting over.
So $250,000 for 12 months of work from one developer. And then they leave, and I start the whole cycle over again. Another recruiting fee, another search, more onboarding, more ramp-up.
Exactly. The cycle never ends. Every 18 months on average, you're back to recruiting. And here's what most founders don't realize until they've lived through this a few times. The cost isn't just what you pay in cash. It's what you lose. The features you didn't ship, the customers you didn't win, the market share you didn't capture, the revenue you didn't generate, the competitive ground you lost to companies who were shipping while you were hiring, the technical debt that piled up because you were short-staffed during yet another search, the mental bandwidth you spent on recruiting instead of strategy and product. All of this is real cost, even if it doesn't show up on a balance sheet anywhere. Most founders would be absolutely shocked if they could see a true accounting of what hiring actually costs their company when you factor in all of these dimensions.
This feels like a terrible arrangement, and I know a lot of founders listening have lived through this exact cycle multiple times. So what's the alternative? Because I still need to build software. I can't just not hire. I need development capacity to build my business.
This is where extended development teams come in, and it's a fundamentally different model. Instead of hiring individuals and trying to build a team from scratch, you partner with a complete team that's already working together. We're talking developers, project managers, QA engineers, DevOps support, technical architecture guidance. The entire workflow is already established and functioning. No recruiting fees because the team exists. No onboarding delays because the team already works together and knows how to collaborate. No turnover risk because the same team stays with you for a full 12-month commitment. You're not building a team. You're joining one that already works.
So I'm not hiring 5 different people and trying to make them into a team. I'm getting one team that already functions as a unit and knows how to work together.
Exactly. And here's what makes this model completely different. You're paying $30,000 to $90,000 per year for the entire team, not per person. Compare that to $250,000 for one in-house hire. You're saving 50 to 70% versus in-house hiring, but you're getting more consistency because the team stays together, more expertise because you're accessing specialists across different domains, and zero management overhead because the team manages itself. The team ships from sprint 1, no learning curve, no team building exercises, no getting to know each other's working styles. They just start working on your product immediately.
I want to make sure I understand this correctly. With an extended team, I'm getting the same roles I'd have to hire individually. Like if I was building a team in-house, I'd need multiple people, right?
You're actually getting more than you typically hire for. To build software properly, you need senior full-stack developers with 15 plus years of experience. You need project management to keep everything on track and running smoothly. You need QA testing to catch bugs before your users find them. You need DevOps support for deployments and infrastructure. You need technical architecture guidance for the big decisions that will affect your product for years. That's 5 or 6 different roles if you were hiring in-house, and you'd be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries plus all the overhead we talked about. With an extended team, all of those roles are included, and the team already works together. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. They have established processes and communication patterns. There's no learning curve.
And they're not just random contractors bouncing between gigs. They're actually invested in my success.
This is the key difference. We're not contractors who bounce between whatever project pays the most this month. We're your partners for a full 12-month commitment. We're invested in your product working because if it doesn't work, you don't continue with us. Our incentives are completely aligned. Contractors want to bill as many hours as possible. Partners want successful outcomes because that's how we keep clients long-term. When you win, we win. That's a fundamentally different relationship than the typical freelancer or contractor arrangement. We're not trying to maximize hours. We're trying to maximize your success because that's what creates long-term partnerships.
So no sick days, no PTO, no employment insurance, no benefits overhead, none of that complexity.
None of that applies. You pay one predictable monthly price that includes everything. That's it. $2,500 per month for starter capacity with 20 story points every 2 weeks. $3,700 per month for advanced capacity with 35 story points. $7,500 per month for premium capacity with 45 to 50 story points. All 3 tiers include the complete team approach, no surprise costs, no additional fees, no overhead to manage, and when you need more capacity, scale up instantly. Need less? Scale down just as fast. No hiring, no firing, no paperwork, no legal issues. Just adjust your capacity to match what your business actually needs right now.
I feel like we need to address the quality question directly because I know what some people are thinking. If it's that much cheaper, the quality must be worse, right? You get what you pay for?
That's the common misconception, but here's the reality. You're getting senior developers with 15 plus years of experience across hundreds of projects. They've seen more problems and solved more challenges than most in-house developers ever will. This isn't offshore outsourcing where you get junior developers who don't understand your business. This is a team that's been building software for decades across every major technology stack, every problem domain, every type of application. They've worked with startups, with enterprise companies, with everything in between. They're not learning on your dime. They're bringing decades of experience to your specific challenges. The quality isn't worse. It's often better because you're accessing expertise that would cost you $300,000 plus per year if you tried to hire it individually.
So let me summarize this for our listeners to make sure everyone has the full picture. In-house hiring, $250,000 plus for one developer, 6 to 9 months to real value, 18-month average tenure, constant restart cycle, all the overhead and complexity of employment. Extended team, $30,000 to $90,000 per year, complete team included with 5 to 6 roles, shipping from sprint 1, zero turnover risk for 12 months, scales up or down instantly.
That's exactly the comparison, and when you look at it side by side, it's hard to understand why anyone is still hiring in-house for software development in 2025, especially for startups and SaaS companies where every dollar counts and speed to market matters. You're not just saving money, you're buying speed, consistency, and predictability. You're buying the ability to ship from day one instead of day 180. You're buying the ability to scale up or down instantly based on what your business actually needs, rather than being locked into fixed headcount. You're buying the ability to focus on your product and customers instead of recruiting and HR. Most founders who make the switch wonder why they didn't do it sooner.
So there you have it. The $120,000 developer, actually $250,000 plus when you factor in everything. And 18 months later, you're starting over. The recruiting fees, the hidden costs, the turnover cycle, it's a model that doesn't work for startups and SaaS companies in 2025. But there is a better way. Get a complete development team that stays with you for 12 months, ships from day one, and costs 50 to 70% less. No recruiting fees, no turnover risk, no onboarding delays, just predictable, consistent development capacity that scales with your needs. If you're tired of the hiring hamster wheel and you want to see what a complete extended team can do for your product, visit 3innovative.com today and let's talk about what you're actually trying to build. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.